Humans have always been driven by questions about the meaning of life, our purpose, and what happens after death. These fundamental questions have existed long before organized religion and persist even as science and technology advance. While technology provides comfort and power, it does not offer definitive answers to these deep existential questions. The Urantia Book recognizes the importance of these questions and aims to guide us in exploring them more deeply than ever before. Rather than silencing these questions, the Urantia Book seeks to honor them and invite us to carry out inquiry further. In 1955, a book appeared quietly in Chicago with no announcement or advertising. This book, over 2,000 pages long, claimed to be a revelation to our planet called Urantia. Such a bold claim naturally invites skepticism, which the book expects and accepts. The book does not demand belief or loyalty, but simply presents its content for reader to judge. The book's approach is to let the content speak for itself rather than trying to force acceptance. This quiet, unassuming appearance of such unambitious work is an intriguing starting point. Urantia is the name for Earth in the cosmology described in the Urantia Book. This cosmic perspective portrays humanity as part of a vast family of inhabited worlds, not isolated on our planet. The Urantia Book provides a broad context for human life, framing it within a framework that extends beyond our traditional borders, traditions, and planetary identity. This tripartite viewpoint encourages us to see ourselves as citizens of the universe connected to a greater cosmic community. The name Urantia represents this expanded, universal perspective on the human experience. The Urantia Book does not name any human author. Each paper is attributed to various non-human personalities within a vast universe organization. This challenges readers to evaluate the book based on its coherence, depth, and transformative value rather than just accepting claims blindly. The burden of discernment rests entirely on the content itself, not on claims of authorship. The image on the left shows a visual representation of this idea of non-human authorship. This slide sets the stage for the story by introducing the unusual case that sparked the investigation. It was 1911 in Chicago when a woman approached Dr. William Sadler, a respected psychiatrist, about her husband's strange sleep behavior. Dr. Sadler was initially a skeptic, having spent years debunking spiritualist phenomena, but he approached this case determined to find medical explanations. The investigation would continue for decades as Dr. Sadler delved deeper into understanding this unusual sleep behavior. The timeline layout with key events helped the audience follow the progression of the story. The slide presents a medical mystery surrounding a sleeping subject. During sleep, the subject discussed complex ideas beyond his normal education and interests. However, upon waking, he showed no awareness of what had transpired. Attempts to interrupt or disrupt the subject's sleep were unsuccessful. physical functions remained normal, and there were no signs of mental illness, hypnosis, or neurological disorder. This phenomenon resisted all known psychological categories, posing a true mystery. The communication we are discussing was from a student visitor, an observer in a larger educational administrative universe, not a spirit or deity. The tone was calm, structured, and intellectually rigorous rather than emotionally manipulate or demanding. The tone this shifted the challenges from emotional belief to rational evaluation of the content. The student visitor did not make any requests or appeals for worship, but rather engaging in a structured dialogue. The visual on this slide provides a visual reference to the concept of a student visitor observing from a larger context. The questions and answer experiment was a fascinating study conducted by Dr. Sadler's groups. They submitted written questions, sealed and locked, that the subject never saw. Yet, days later, detailed handwritten responses appeared that addressed the questions directly. Analysis confirmed the subject and his wife did not write the responses. Over many years, the questions deepened and the answers grew into full essays on cosmology, philosophy, theology, and human destiny. This experiment uncovered an intriguing phenomenon that challenges our understanding of human capabilities. The 1925 to 1942 period saw the material expanded into 196 independent papers, with hundreds of people reviewing, questioning, and organizing the content. Despite the lack of claimed authorship or credit, the material demonstrated internal consistency across thousands of pages, covering a wide range of subjects from atomic structure to spiritual growth. By the time the final papers appeared, especially the extensive account of Jesus' life, the work had become a comprehensive worldview. Publication of this material would come years later, quietly without promotion. The concept of revelation refers to the presentation of knowledge that goes beyond what humanity can independently assemble at its current stage. Revelation is progressive in nature. It is not final, and future revelations may reinterpret or expand on earlier ones. Truth portrayed in Revelation is seen as living and unfolding, with a humanity that sets itself apart from rigid doctrine. This progressive and living nature of revelation contrasts with the idea of inspiration, which is more about the source of knowledge rather than its ongoing development. Science, philosophy, and religion each offer unique insights. Science explores the facts through empirical knowledge. Philosophy interprets meaning through rational thought, and religion addresses value through spiritual insight. These domains are not mutually exclusive, but rather can work together in an integrated framework. The Urantia Book acknowledges the value of scientific inquiry while recognizing its limitations. It proposes a model where empirical knowledge, rational thought, and spiritual insight complement each other. The key is to avoid confusion that arises when one domain tries to replace the others. Each has an important role to play in understanding the world and our place in it. By embracing the interplay of facts, meaning, and value, we can gain a more holistic and meaningful understanding of reality. The divine nature, a personal God, this slide introduces the key theme of the presentation, which is exploring the idea of God as a personal, relational being rather than an impersonal force, not distant. Highlights how God is described as a loving Father, infinite in scope yet intimate in relationship with each individual, not impersonal. Emphasizes that God has a personality capable of knowing and loving each person, not just the cosmic force. Both transcendent and close underscore the paradox that God is beyond the universe, yet also present within it, focused on relationship over richer and growth over tear. Growth over fear. The overall message is that the divine nature is personal, relational, and accessible, in contrast to a distant or impersonal conception of God. The thought adjuster is one of the most distinctive teachings in the book. It refers to a divine fragment within the human mind. This inner presence doesn't override free will or dictate behavior. Instead, it gently guides, suggesting higher choices and deeper understanding. Spiritual growth is a cooperative process between the human personality and this inner divine presence. Transformation is not imposed, it is chosen. This inner guide is always there, patiently waiting to help us grow and evolve. Death is not the end, but a transition to a new phase of learning and growth. Our identity and purpose continue after death as we embark on educational journey in the afterlife. The afterlife is not endless rest, but endless opportunity to participate meaningfully in the universe. We can look forward to continued personal development and expansion of our lore and contribution. This slide introduces the final section of the presentation, which focuses on the life of Jesus. The key themes are highlighting Jesus' humanity as much as his divinity, and portraying him as revealing God through his life and actions, not just through dogma. The message emphasizes the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of humanity. The goal is to invite the audience to rediscover Jesus, not just as a symbol, but as a living example to follow. The slide includes an image that may be helpful to reference during this part of the presentation. All religions contain elements of truth shaped by culture, history, and human experience. Religion is personal before institutional. True spiritual growth begins with individual experience. The book encourages deeper understanding between faith rather than conversion. The goal is unity through shaped values, not uniformity of belief or practice. The key message here is that spiritual life is about inner transformation, not outward ritual or requirements. We want to move away from mandated practice and instead focus on personal expression through prayer, meditation, worship, music, and art. Daily life becomes the arena for spiritual growth, where our choices, relationship, and service reveal our values. Faith is lived, not just performed. This approach allows for a more authentic, living faith that is tailored to each individual's spiritual journey. This slide introduces the key characteristics that distinguish the book from a cult. It highlights the lack of charismatic leader, centralized authority, or system of control. Instead, the book emphasizes complete freedom for readers to engage with the content as they choose. The core out box emphasizes that freedom of thought is preserved, which is a defining feature. The visual of the open door, with light streaming through, reinforces the theme of openness and freedom. The Urantia Book doesn't ask you to simply believe, but to live the truth and see the result. It challenges us to put spiritual ideas into practice and judge them by the fruits they bear in our lives. Thus, living the teachings of the book lead to a greater sense of meaning and purpose. Does it cultivate compassion and understanding within us? Ultimately, the book suggests that truth is known through personal transformation, not just by accepting doctrines. The real test of this teaching is what happens when we actually live them out. The Urantia Book offers a unique and profound vision of humanity's place in the universe, a loving God, and a meaningful future. It does not argue or shout, but simply opens a door, inviting the readers to think more deeply, love more broadly, live more consciously. This invitation remains whether one accepts the book fully, partially, or not at all. Ultimately, the choice is up to the individual. The Urantia Book simply presents the opportunity for deeper reflections and spiritual growth.